Hello,
Hey, Tom.
Max. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. Okay, so I need to warn you that you're being recorded, and anything you say may be used in evidence.
I know my Miranda rights.
Maybe used in evidence against you. Yeah. Welcome to Playtime interview.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
The first thing I have to do is to, you wore a suit as you've set a new bar, the drum clothing. So now I'm gonna have to wear a suit, and it's like and you look really smart. I've been looking at the video, so
Hey, man, next outlet store, get yourself a nice little suit for 41 quid total. 41 quid.
My body doesn't meet next outlet store. We don't match.
All right.
I have to go to the specialist store. So
Hey, that's a sweet shirt, man. I like that.
Oh yeah, this is that guy. He's got a. Can you see the back?
Yeah.
He's got a drum t-shirt merch website.
Cool.
I'm thinking of starting one. So this is going to be shown in the interval of the gig.
Cool.
So how do you think the first set's going?
Fantastic. I think the set is going fantastic. It's great to revisit this material again with Marty. We did a little bit of the Lee Konitz thing for the Edinburgh Jazz Festival last summer. But it's a totally different vibe having Graeme on board. That guitar adds that different texture. And obviously it's always good with Mario. I've always had a decent hookup with Mario, so it's always fun.
He can be disrespectful to drummers. I don't know if you find that.
As long as you follow those big eye cues that he gives, you'll be fine.
So I'm interested to know how you got in. I've got a bunch of questions. So,
Fire away, man.
How did you get into jazz?
Well, my dad showed me some Buddy Rich, and then my eyes and ears were completely opened up, because at that point I had only been listening to Van Halen and Van Halen and Boston. Those were my two big ones. And my dad was not necessarily a big jazz aficionado or anything like that, but he did show me some Buddy Rich, and then from there it went Buddy Rich into Basie, and then I started playing in the high school jazz band, and then you just start checking things out, comparing notes with other guys in band, and then start checking out files.
Where was this?
So I come from Aurora, Illinois, and it's a suburb of Chicago. It's about 45 minutes west. For any of the Wayne's World fans out there, you'll know Aurora, Illinois.
Is that Wayne's World?
Aurora, Illinois. Excellent. Yeah.
Suddenly I feel like I know it.
Yeah, man, you do know it. You do know it. Although sadly, I think the only scene in Wayne's World was that during the Bohemian Rhapsody montage where they quick flash that White Castle. I think that's the only spot where it's actually in Aurora. Unfortunately, the rest of it was like LA.
Right.
But anyways.
Did one of them grow up there or something? Why was it set there?
I have no clue. That's actually a really good question. Mike Myers is from Canada, so he has no connection to Chicago. And then
he's got a Scottish dad as well.
Right, yeah. I can't remember. Did Mike Myers do Second City? Maybe he did Second City, which was like the Chicago version of Saturday Night Live, like improv comedy. Yeah. I can't really, don't quote me on that, but yeah, so this was my kind of foray into jazz. It started with Buddy Rich, big band, and then I kind of went into the small group things and just started checking things out, and that was it, really.
And did you kind of go when you left school? What did you do? Did you study music?
I went to a place called North Central College in another suburb of Chicago called Naperville, and I studied with the great Jack Mouse, who I'm sure you've seen me talk plenty about him on my social media. Jack sadly passed away in August, way too soon, but you know, his legacy still lives with me, and I mean, everything I do playing wise comes from him, really. He taught me so much about the art form, about drumming, and he was just a real influence on my life, you know, drumming wise and just outside of drumming. So
I don't really go on social media very much, so I haven't heard about this person.
Sure.
And he's got a very, very fantastic name.
Jack Mouse, yeah. Roy Haynes used to call him White Mouse. Hey, what's up, White Mouse? Jack didn't like that very much, but he went with it because, you know, it's Roy Haynes. But
yeah, right.
But Jack was fantastic. Jack, I mean, you know, here's the thing about Chicago and, you know, a lot of the big cities in the U.S., you have these guys who are incredible players, but they're not household names, you know, but they're just, they're heavy guys. You know, he was on the road with Clark Terry 5 years. He was in the Stan Kenton band. He played with Bunky Green. I mean, just like the list just goes on and on and on. You know, John Laporta. I'm pretty sure he played in Woody's band for a little bit, Woody Herman's band. I mean, just he played with literally everybody. His wife Janice Borla, who's a very accomplished, award-winning jazz vocalist, she's still with us. She's still very active, but she moved to Kansas. But yeah, Jack was I highly encourage you to check him out. He's got a couple records under his name, but you'd hear the bulk of his stuff with the Janice Borla group.
Okay,
so,
cool. And
yeah.
so he was the drum teacher at the college.
Yep.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for 4 years. Yeah, I just did my undergrad there, and then that was it.
And was it a pure jazz program, or was it a kind of
purely jazz? Yeah, purely jazz performance. That was the program. Yeah.
And what? So there must have been a period after that, and then at some point you ended up in Scotland, and I'm fascinated to know how that all happened.
Well, I was gigging a lot around Chicago. I was playing in a couple working trios and then an organ trio quartet. We were gigging a ton. I was playing all the time, but I was working a day job and just kind of in this weird limbo period with not a lot of direction. And a lot of my friends were going to get their master's degrees in jazz and their doctorates and things, and I just didn't. That just wasn't a route that I wanted to go down, you know. So I was just busy playing, and man, one of my buddies he went on a cruise ship, and I was talking to him, and he was telling me all about how amazing, you know, that lifestyle was, and you know, you get to play every day, you're getting paid, and see the world, and get to have a lot of fun and party and all that, and it sounded really good because when he was talking about it, it was in the bleak of Chicago winter, which is notoriously brutal. And notoriously dark, brutal, freezing. And so it really appealed to me. And so I asked about the audition process. I got a few contacts. I did it. And then I was off to San Diego. And that was about almost a 5-year stint on and off that I was doing cruise ships. I was playing in a trio on board the Holland America ship called the Neptunes, and we would do mostly jazz, I would say. The pianist, this guy Harvey Finstein, he's a fantastic pianist, but he could do like the jazz trio thing, but he could also do the piano bar thing. He was a very, very well-rounded guy. But it was great. The first set we would do that nobody would come to was always hard swinging stuff, and he would just call tunes out of the real book, and you know, we had free reign to shape it however we wanted to, and we could take it in any direction we wanted to. And so that was every night for I think the contracts were about 4 months long. So, I mean, you really got some stuff together, you really got a lot of stuff together. And we went through the entire, Great American Songbook because, there were nights where we'd have to do a lot of,
So how
just
many
kind of,
gigs a day were you doing on the boat?
oh, it was about five sets a night, 4 or 5 sets a night,
Wow.
every night. Yeah. No days off. I mean, we had
So
all
how
day to,
long was the set?
they were like 45, 50-minute sets.
Wow,
Yeah, it was long, man.
that's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And it would be a grind. I was lucky to get paired up with some really good musicians. The bass player
sure.
was this fantastic bass player named Fernando Ledesma from Mexico City. He was a famous musical director for all the big massive names to come out of Mexico City, big singers and things like that. But he was an incredible jazz player. But I mean, we're just playing on a ship, and he's, we're doing a little trio thing, and he tells me his resume. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing here? But everybody's got to work, so.
And so, how did that end up with you coming to Scotland?
Right. So, okay. I joined the Staten Dam, and this gig was actually, I was in the party band. So I was just playing like, top 40 stuff, covers, Motown, all that stuff. And I met my wife, Lauren. She was the soprano on board, and she would do all the sort of like operatic soprano things in the production shows. And so we would be the backing band. And so
So what's the Staten Dam?
the Staten Dam was one of the ships for Holland America.
So was that going to Holland?
No. Holland America was the name of the cruise line.
I'm sorry. And where were those ships going?
So, I mean, all over, but our particular route at that time was Seattle to Alaska.
Whoa!
Uh,
Wow!
yeah. And
Amazing.
then, so we did that all for a bunch. And then we finished that route. We went it was the Staten Dam's final voyage before it got sold off to another company. We went from Vancouver to Singapore. It was 30
Wow!
days. And stopping along all these crazy places in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific Ocean that you'd never even heard of. But it was a hell of a trip, man. It was total adventure. And then one thing led to another, and then before we knew it, Lauren was pregnant, and it was like, all right, it's real time now. It's real time, and so.
How did that happen? Well, I mean, what
You know,
happened?
it's that jazz drummer's lifetime. You know all about it. Come on.
Is she Scottish?
She's Scottish. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
she's from Bridge of Erne, Perth. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome.
So we ended up in
and then
Scotland, and
and then
we're here. We're here. We've got 2 beautiful children, and
amazing.
that's how I landed here, man.
That's beautiful. Well, I mean, that's a beautiful reason to come to Scotland.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, when did you actually get here? You've been here for quite a while now.
Yeah, December 26th, 2016.
Okay. How old are your kids?
My son Brody's 8, and my daughter Mabel just turned 4.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
And like, what was it like for you as a musician coming here? Was it like, oh my God, I'm going to the backwaters of Tatooine?
I mean, I didn't know what to expect. The thing was, I came over a couple times, just obviously as a visitor, as a tourist, just to get a feel for everything, and to get to know Lauren's family a little bit better and all that stuff, and just to kind of like get my bearings of the place that I was moving to. So it was quite intense, man. There's a lot of pressure, because I was like, okay, well, I'm leaving everything I know, everybody I know and love. So it was quite intense. There were, there was a lot going on. But in terms of like musically, I didn't know where to start. I mean, I had to start from complete scratch. I had to start completely over and in every regard. So that was hard, and I just kind of went online and looked up like clubs in Edinburgh, and one of the first places was the Jazz Bar.
Yeah.
And I sought that place out. I saw that they had a jam on Tuesday nights, and I went there, and I met Bill Kyle, and I asked him if I could sit in and play, and he said, "Yeah, just get yourself on the list, you know." And I sat in and played, and I believe one of the first people I played with at the jam was Ed and Ed Kelly,
Oh, yeah.
the great Ed Kelly, and Pete Johnston piano.
Okay.
I think that was the first trio. I can't remember who the horn section was, but I remember those two guys. The horn section wasn't really. I don't really. It doesn't stick out to me, but I definitely remember those two guys, and I remember having a great hookup with both of them immediately. And we just got chatting and stuff, and then Bill came up to me afterwards and said, "Wow, man, wow, that's fantastic. What are you doing here? Are you just hanging out? Or are you on vacation?" And I kind of gave him the rundown. He said, "Wow." He's like, "Listen, man, you should keep coming, and especially if you're planning to move here, you should keep showing up, and
Sure.
just talk to as many guys as you can, and you can start getting some work." And he's like, I remember him saying, you could, if you want to do this trio thing, you could do it. Just don't advertise it, so that the government doesn't get you for working when you're over here as a. But he was so cool, man. He was just.
Did you have to get like a work permit and shit like that?
Yeah, well, we had to get married to for me to get my visa and all that stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But just Bill was just so cool, man. He was just.
Oh man, yeah, he was an amazing guy. Really
He was
amazing.
just so eager to like help immediately. I knew him for about 5 minutes, and he was just like, "Man, yeah. So do you want to?" I have to mention this story about Bill because I mean it's kind of sad, but it's sweet. But he. So this was not. It was like maybe like the second time or the third time that I was at the jam, and I still wasn't even legal at this time as a citizen. And he's like, "Listen, man, we have a big band on Mondays. Do you want to play?" I was like, "I'd love to play big band. It's been a while." And he's like, "Can you read?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can read." He goes, "Can you read fly shit?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Can you read fly shit?" And I'm like, "What?" And I had to sit there and I'd go through it in my head. I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, you read fly shit?" I was like, yeah, I can read fly shit. And then we had a good laugh about that. And
Is that not an expression in the States?
I mean, I had never heard that one, man.
It's a really common expression here, but it's like,
Yeah.
Now you mention it, it's just if you don't know what it means, it's like gonna sound really.
Yeah. I had to roll it out very, very literally in my head. I'm like, wait, what could he possibly? Oh, it's very small. I get it, right? Cool, I got it. Anyways, he set up the gig. He's like, right, next Monday, gig's yours. You show up at this time. It's an open rehearsal. You run through the charts in front of the crowd.
I've done it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But so he runs me down. I'm like, great, and he's like. And he texted me on like that Saturday, and then I think by the Monday he had passed, sadly.
Oh fuck me!
So he never got to see me with the big band, so it was pretty sad. But yeah, I kept I kept that text in my phone for a while just because it was just a nice little memory of him. But yeah, he's what a guy Bill was.
He had a brilliant he had this brilliant way of looking out to internationally and supporting the local scene sort of equally, and not all Scottish jazz people managed to do that, get that right. He just sort of was aware of the international scope of it, and also really valued the local thing, and those two things in balance.
You nailed it.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just to your point, you absolutely nailed it because great friend of mine, a Chicago guitarist, he came over with a trio, and he said Bill picked them up from the airport, right? And these guys aren't. I mean, they're great musicians, but at the time they were just kind of guys that were on the scene in Chicago. They had cut some albums and stuff. They were getting some steam behind them, but they weren't like, downbeat pole winners or anything like that. Bill picked them up from the airport, took them to the hotel, right, and then made sure that they got some food. And then my buddy said when they were at the club, it was, it's like just drink as many drinks as you want, whatever. Made sure that they had a cab back. And then this was the days of the Glasgow Art Club gig, right? That was before my time, but I had heard about this from a lot of people. Bill took them all the way to Glasgow in his car.
Wow.
And made sure they got back. It's like who else does that? You know what I mean?
He treated Snarky Puppy really well when they first came to Scotland, and nobody knew who they were. And so I went to see them at the Queen's Hall. They came back and did sort of headline the Queen's Hall and totally sold it out with young people. And then they said on the mic, you know, we're all going to go down to the jazz bar and jam because we love Bill Carl and he treated us so well. And you know, and they packed out the jazz bar for him, and you know, and you could tell they really had the same experience.
Yeah.
When they were unknown, he treated them with so much respect, and yeah,
Wow.
he was a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
He was a kind of not exactly a Jack Mouse for me, but he taught me and John Ray when we were 15. He was the sort of, I guess, the leading jazz drummer in the scene at the time when in Scotland, and him and this guy Tony McClellan, and he taught us when we were about 14, 15, and but he was always a really positive guy to have. You know, how are you feeling about the second set, and are you hoping that it's going to go well? And you got any plans for the second set? Are you going to change your outfit? Are you going to make me look even worse clothing wise? What are you planning?
You know what? I brought another suit, but it's in the car, and man, I can't. I'm not in the mood to go down and change. I'll keep the purple suit on. You know, I've been told I look like an Easter egg, but
It's not. It was. Is it a purple suit?
I think that's my purple one I've got on. Yeah. Oh. Light purple. Yeah.
Light purple.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking forward to the second set. We've got some Konitz classics in there. It's all spontaneous. There's nothing planned, as you know. It's basically, you know, just here's hoping everybody gets the heads right. That's all. Whatever happens in the middle is, you know, that's cool.
Inshallah, you know. Okay. Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming on for the interview, and
sure.
And it's been really interesting to hear the story, and and it's really great to have you in the scene and have you contributing all that you do, and and good luck.
Pleasure, Tom. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, man.